What is up, y'all? It is Grant with another episode of the Groovy Files, and I got my main man Donovan with me.
Yo.
Today we're going to be talking about Mavi, biggest rap what ifs, J.Cole, and A Tribe Called Quest. So first off, biggest rap what ifs. And number one, to me, if I didn't have to include a death, Child Rebel Soldier with like Kanye, Lupe, and Pharrell.
For me, I would have to say Big L, honestly. With him only having one project out while he was alive and then one in death, I really couldn't imagine what he would have became, or like at least how it would have affected the New York rap landscape, especially since they weren't as prominent after a certain time.
A Big L, like, cause I'm gonna look on what the tracks were on that album. Give me 1 second. So you have Ebonics, which I would say is his like not storytelling, but like his Mona Lisa song. Like if somebody was like tell me like introduce me into Bill's song, I feel like it'd be that one. Let me see what else. And then of course Lifestyles is Poor and Dangerous. But yeah, I think Big O is definitely like number one. Not number one, and definitely not number one, but like he's up there in terms of like biggest rap what else.
I also think a really big what if is if Kanye had died in that car crash. The fact that he shaped a whole era of music and influenced so many people. One of the hardest working artists to ever exist. I really can't imagine if his music never made it to where we are or where it is now, and just the progression that it got to.
Yeah, like I think like, can you hear that car going off in the background?
Can I what?
What'd you say?
Can I do what now?
Can you hear that car in the background?
No.
Okay, good. But yeah, like with definitely Kanye, because like when you think of Kanye and what he did, like he always gets the label of killing gangster rap. And like I can't imagine the rap landscape and how it looks without him. And like, you know, like he opened the door for like so many people and just making it like in for instance, just making it cool to do a certain type of rap. Like I still don't think I feel like without Kanye, there's no Lupe in a sense. Like I feel like he helped open the door for Lupe. I hope he just a lot of people who weren't really gangsters, like, you know, like, and I feel like it's a fair assessment. Definitely, of course, Biggie, if he ever builds his resume up. So that's one of them. Let me think of somebody
Another
else.
one I would say is that's not death related is if Jay Electronica released on a consistent basis.
Hey man, if Jay Electronica, I would say if Jay Electronica had a full catalog, there's just no way in hell he isn't top 20 or above. There's just no way, because like he's just like, that's the only thing you can say about it. He just has no catalog. That's it.
He's really like, and it's crazy because it's kind of what people say about like Andre 3000. But he's just no really solo catalog. So I think that's another one that I would say is like, what if Andre 3000 actually made, or him and, well, if Andre 3000 actually made a solo project outside of the Love Below. But yeah, the fact that Jay Electronica has been held in such a high regard for a decade plus and has one of the more limited catalogs out of any prominent rapper is extremely impressive.
Let me think what else. As corny as it is, or corny as it sounds, definitely the J.Cole Kendrick album that never released. I know, like, of course, like the idea of it doesn't sound as good, but at the same time, everybody was begging for it. Like, I was begging for it. So I can't really get mad at people for that.
As much as I've said many things about J. Cole over the years, but I do think if it would have came out in a time where around like really like 2014 Forces Drive, and really anywhere before then, like, and when as long as it was teased,
Niggas would be saying he's the better rapper.
I really think it would have been really good. Even in the times where I didn't really like J. Cole, but like when him and Kendrick had rapped over each other's beats, that time period, like that was really good music. And I really think J. Cole tends to show up when he raps with other really good rappers and on features. So I think that regardless of the time period, him and Kendrick would have done a great job together. Another collab album that is more like underground backpack type stuff is that Chance and Gambino collab that we never got.
Wait, I was gonna say that's not Good Ass Job. That's another one. That was Good Ass Job was the one with Chance and Kanye.
They got favorite song. They got together, and then they dropped. I mean, Chance was on Worst Guys as the hook, and I think he like people unearthed a verse, but that was really it. But I really think their chemistry. No, you know what? Their best song together is They Don't Like Me. By far the best thing they had together. And two of some of their best verses that either one of them has ever done, honestly. And that was on royalty, which just speaks to how good royalty was.
I agree. Like, I agree 100%. I'm trying to think of like some others. Let's see. I still think that nigga lying, but like, what if we never got a I'm trying to think, because like allegedly I've heard there's like a rumor going around that allegedly like Kendrick had scrapped like 3 albums before dropping Mr. Morale. And I'm kind of wondering like how I still think Nation real. I don't care what anybody say. Cause that shit, them theories was lining up. Everything made sense. I don't give it. You can call me crazy. I don't care. I thought this shit was dropping on. I thought this second album was dropping on Easter.
Speaking of Kendrick, I really think it would have been crazy if we got an official Black Hippie album that was not just like a mixtape prior to. I think that mixtape came out before Section 80. Like if we got like an actual Black Hippie project, I think it would have been really good. Every time one of them dropped a project and they had a Black Hippie posse cut, them niggas never missed.
I agree. Like, bro, like if you really think about it, like they'd have to drop that. I feel like they'd have to drop it in like between 2011 and 2014, because that's when everybody kind of like still had like that really, really hunger inside them, and they weren't really like, of course, they were focused on making great projects, but also like that hunger to be like, okay, I want to out rap this nigga and things like that. Like for instance, like imagine like the hunger that J Rock had, Black Little Bastard, and other shit like that. Like I feel like 2011, 2014 would be like the prime time to do that.
Yeah, it would have either been even. I also think it would have been a good time. Would have been after. It would either have to be between that time or after Isaiah Rashad joined. I don't know if he would have been considered Black Hippie at that point, but if they would just made like a TDE project and had Isaiah Rashad on it, post Sylvia demo, I think that would have been a fantastic album.
Yeah, I agree, man. Like, yeah. So, next topic. I think Mavi or J. Cole. Mavi or J. Cole. Let's go ahead and get Mavi out the way. When people talk about like, I haven't been excited for a young rapper like I have Mavi. Like that was truly the last debut project that blew me away was Let the Sun Talk. And like you told me that nigga was like 19 or like 20. I ain't never been like, ever since like Kendrick and like Cole and Rocky and everything like that, I'm fine with saying like Mavi has been like the last rapper or like the closest rapper to get me excited for rap as a whole again. Because like he brought something kind of like new. I don't want to say new to the table, but at the same time, it was something that I wasn't really used to hearing. Like the production style on Let the Sun Talk, the way like Mavi kind of like raps, he kind of raps like, I don't want to say like unorthodox, but kind of in a sense like he don't really rap like super on beat. So it kind of seemed unnatural in a good way. And then, you know, he got like songs like Since I Nation with like the Leah sample at the end. And then like the intro of the album was like about like he had like a skit about like pro-blackness and everything like that. And I was kind of like, especially during like the pandemic and like there was a lot of shit going on. And I was kind of like, oh, I'm really interested in this.
Mavi is just one of those people that like, for as young as he is, he sounds like he's been doing it for a very long time. He's very poised, very versatile. Like even now, that nigga just had a feature on a Tony Snow project, and they both fit with each other very well, just because you know, those are two versatile individuals. And like Mavi has shown that he can adapt in multiple different lanes with multiple different people. But yeah, like I said, he's just poised and he definitely has the capabilities to be even better than he already is, which would definitely put him as one of the better, if not the best underground rapper. It'll be interesting to see if he ever gets to like, you know, on that cusp of stardom, if not stardom, that Kendrick has. But yeah, he's him for real.
He called like that's like the last. Like I ain't gonna say he got all time like great potential yet, but like at the same time, I'm kind of like, dang, that nigga is great. Like that's the last rapper I'm fine with saying is just absolutely great. But on to the next topic, and like the topic I really want to kind of discuss, because I feel like niggas been wild on this and niggas being dishonest, being very dishonest. Like I have my gripes with J. Cole, but like niggas being hella dishonest about his career. So like first thing, like this whole thing asking like what J. Cole does well and things like that, I'll go ahead and say that he's elite at branding himself. Like he took that whole Friday Night Lights, oh, I didn't make the basketball team concept and all that shit, and kind of and made himself like and made a brand out of it.
He is arguably the most relatable rapper to be in the mainstream.
He is if Blue was a mainstream rapper, but more accessible, it'd be J.Cole. Cause like I give Cole a lot of shit, but like I don't necessarily entirely agree with the J.Cole was boring thing. I'm more so like the reasons why I dislike some of Joel's music is because when he tries to execute concepts, it's just like it just doesn't. He's always missing a lot of something. Like for instance, Before Your Eyes Only, like I loved a lot of the writing on the project, and I thought it was interesting. But like some of the instrumentals just like put me to sleep. And then like KOD, first half of KOD is some of the worst music I've ever heard from Cole. But like, the second half is like absolute greatness. And then like Cole, I think it's because he's the middle child. Because we expect with Kendrick, he set the bar so high. Drake has set the bar so high in what they do. With Cole, he's not really able to do what both of them do at the level that they do it at. So like his best thing is kind of like just recrafting like Illmatics in a sense. Like for instance, like he's more of a back to the basics guy. Like, oh, if you like Friday Night Lights, let me kind of do something in the same ballpark as that project and those strengths. Like, I'm not saying it's not good, but like you know what you're getting out of him a lot of times. And it kind of hurts him, but it kind of works for him.
Yeah, for me, I think the thing that Cole is best at, like I said, I think he's really relatable. I think his storytelling is really good. And he's just like, he's pretty damn consistent. At least as far as knowing what you're gonna get out of him without it sounding like bland. I guess the word I want to use.
What did you say?
I think for the most part, you know what you're going to get out of him without it sounding bland. But it's, he's been doing his thing for a very long time. Just like you, I've had my things to say about Cole over the course of his career. But at the end of the day, I mean, that man is a rap legend. Like, whether you like it or not, he is a legend in the rap game. He's been doing it a long time. He has at least one classic album. He has classic mixtapes. He's been in the spotlight for at least a decade. Like he's up there with some of the better rappers ever. Love him or hate him, love or hate his fans. He's very good at what he does.
It's like with Cole, like he does a lot with being a middle child, and like I just feel like people kind of being like unfair. Like even me, like I've been unfair, and like the only Sideline Story is like a regular debut album, so like I don't really knock him for much because like people don't understand. A lot of people don't have like that creative freedom early in their career. But like Born Center, I always feel like that's like an unorganized hot mess in a sense, but at the same time, I think there's great stuff on there too. And then last, kind of like Forest Hills Drive is kind of like it's the accumulation of all the work that J. Cole has done up until that point with this brand and everything like that. And that's what like he really reached that level of superstardom. Like he wasn't, I don't think he was bigger than Kendrick Cole, but Kendrick or Drake, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, he's solidified himself and done what he's done. So he don't even, he gonna get his unfair shake just because he's not as he doesn't do what he's not as like mainstream as J. Cole. I mean, as Drake will ever be. J. Cole's not as mainstream as Drake will ever be. And he's not as good as rapping as Kendrick will ever be, or Kendrick's peak. But he's a very good mix of the two.
Yeah, like it's just like people have trouble like kind of striking that medium with him, and it's just kind of like unfair. Um, but in short, one thing I'll say about Cole is that like he's the number one example of like how the power of marketing. Like he is elite in that aspect, and I'll forever give him props for that. Did you hear me, Anon?
Yeah.
But that is it for Cole. Last topic, the Tribe Called Quest. I know, Don, you've been wanting to discuss them like a really long time, so I'm really curious on what you got to say.
Really, I think they are arguably the greatest rap group to ever exist. I think they were able to, they make timeless music. Like you can put on Tribe at any point and most people gonna be cool with it. They have at least 2 to 3 classic albums. I mean, Fife and Q-Tip are just an immaculate duo, with Fife also being, with Q-Tip also being like one of the better producers of all time. It is, speaking of them, as a matter of fact, one of the other greatest what ifs is, I seen Andre 3000 talk about this, is Tribe and Outkast were supposed to do a collab album and they put it off, and then Fife died, and Andre 3000 said that's one of his like biggest or only regrets, because they put it off because they were just like, yeah, we can do this anytime, and then that's not always the case. So yeah, but they work well with anybody. They did a lot of different things in different eras, and they're just really good. Like,
I think they're like the definition of like aging gracefully in a sense, because like they took a big ass break and then came back in 2016 with arguably the best album that year. Not to mention their second best album, to me at least. I still have Midnight Marauders #1, but like I think I have Thank You for Your Service as #2, and then Low End Theory at 3. Like I don't think people understand how it is, like how longevity kind of like works, like and be able to come back after a break, sort of, and then drop I don't honestly say like a classic tier album after taking some time off.
Yeah, their last project was 98, and then they dropped Thank You for Your Service in 2016. Like, that is a humongous break to still drop the quality that they dropped. Because it was arguably a better album than the one, like, Thank You for Your Service, I'm pretty sure was better than The Love Movement. So it's just crazy to see that they were able to make such a more quality album. Although The Love Movement was still really good. It has one of their better songs ever in Find a Way. But yeah, that's almost a 20-year gap to make one of the better albums you've ever made and one of the better pieces of work of a specific year.
And I think like it's like the perfect blend of being able to kind of modernize the sound, but also like stick to your roots. Because like, like they on an old album, they're like shouting out the other new rappers, and like, Conrad Tokyo on that album too. And then like it's just kind of, it's a perfect example.
What else is on that? Oh, and I mean the features on that album are also really good. I mean, 100,000, Kendrick. Let me see. I gotta see all the features that was on here. Busta Rhymes, Elton John, uh, Consequence, Kanye, like this was Anderson .Paak. Like this was a very it was a star-studded project. And I'm sure most of those people were honored to be a part of something like that. Because I mean, you're a part of a legacy group's last album, and it isn't like a cash grab type of album. Like this is actually like a truly quality album.
Yeah, man. Like it's just kind of they amazing. Like in like Rip Pipe Dog, it still kind of pains me. Like especially like I always know how people, everybody know how I feel about how like rappers kind of just die too young, and we kind of forget hip hop is still a young genre. So I really just kind of putting that in context, like it's still like it's still tragedy, like, and I hate it, and I hope we kind of just come to like an agreement or like some sort of consensus that we just need to take stuff more seriously, and just like our health as a whole and things of that nature. And you know, you have Plug 2 passing away as well, MF Doom. But we just losing all of our legends, not just and like DMX too, and I just hate it. Like ain't really no way to sugarcoat it. But I was gonna end the episode, but Donovan, you brought a really good point. And I will talk about this in like I don't want to deal with too much, but I do not agree with people penalizing rappers part of a group for all-time consideration. And the reason why is that, like, even though they were part of a group, like, and I understand, like, they might not have, like, full bodies of work to themselves where they're the main person rapping, but at the same time, if their verses are better than a lot of stuff I heard on solo stuff or just things in general, like, I feel like that has to be taken into consideration. Like, for instance, we can talk about Andre 3000 not having a solo album like all day long, but like in addition to being a part of four, I would say arguable four classic albums and being the greatest duo of all time and group of all time to me. You put everybody else's top verses over Andre's top verses. I don't think there's 10 people that win that battle with him.
It's also
I think you can name. I honestly want to say 7. I really want to say like there's not 7 people you can.
That sounds like a good number. To me, I can't hold people apart of groups. I can't hold that against them because we talked about this in an earlier episode, but I feel like being a part of a group or collective and making music is harder than making solo albums. Like, of course, you're like more than likely rapping less, but one, Outkast was making long ass songs. Like they was making like 4 or 5 minute songs, so they was having solo worthy verses anyway. But 2, when you do collaborative stuff, you have to have everyone show up for it to be good. And him and Big Boy consistently showed up. And that is hard to do, because if one person doesn't hold up the end, then you're wasting half of a song, which turns that song into not being good. Like, no one is going to listen to a song where like half of the song is amazing and then the other half is bad. Like, that just not something that people tend to do. And then on top of that, the feature run that he has had over the years, like, he is up there with some of the better feature rappers of all time, if not the best feature rapper of all time. So it's like, sure, he may not have technically had a solo album, but he's done enough to solidify more than your average solo career.
Like, I want like people to like be like serious, like, and be honest. How many, if you take Andre's, I don't even think this is his, I think this is best feature verse, but I don't think this is his verse. Actually, I think you can argue it, but how many, if you put a rapper's best verse up against 16 by Andre 3000 as a feature, how many rappers are winning that battle? I'm serious. Like, I want, like, really think about, like, I really don't know many. And like, I hate this thing that people do and act like, oh, the Andre 3000 like hype is just, oh, he's overrated, blah blah blah, all this other stuff. Like, he is truly he's a one-on-one rapper, like rhyme scheme, flow, delivery, charisma, all this other stuff. He is a one-on-one rapper. And yes, I can say, and before you pull the whole, well, what about Big Boy? Like, yes, I feel Big Boy is great too. Like, of course, I think he's elite. I just think Andre is better. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, people are so accustomed to just like, it's kind of like the Chaz, like the Neptunes effect, where like everybody kind of like loves Pharrell, but nobody recognizes Chad Hugo, even though he deserves his respect. But at the same time, in this case, we have like proof of one being the better. Well, it's of course up to opinion, but we kind of have like some sort of justification from one being a better rapper. Like, I feel like Big Boy was a better rapper on the first two albums, and then the last three, I feel like it's Andre.
I can see that. Big Boy has definitely had his moments in the sun, and I can kind of understand. Like, I mean, throughout their career, he's definitely been seen as underappreciated, and I can certainly understand like someone overcompensating, because people overcompensate how much better Andre 3000 is than Big Boy at times. So sometimes people will just overcompensate for it the other way. But yeah, you know, it's been a long, like, they've had illustrious careers, long careers on both ends. They have just done wonderful things together and separately. And although I feel as though Andre is somewhat better, that does not take away. I don't want that to take away from Big Boy at any point.
It shouldn't. Like, I don't get why people can't like do this thing where it's like, oh, one is overrated and one is like underrated, or like, even though I do think Big Boy is underrated and definitely on Andre's level, I think Andre is slightly better, but like, we just kind of do this thing. We do this thing with like, where people can't praise without some sort of like, I guess, extreme comparison or things like that, sort of. Or just people can say, I like somebody, but I like this person better, or things of that nature.
Yeah, that tends to be why, and I think that's really happens in any version of entertainment. Like, people just don't know how to be like, yeah, I like this, and kind of just leave it at that. Like, it always has to be Yeah, I liked this because I didn't like this. Like it's never just one thing. Um, Also in the same vein, like sometimes people will just say, like, oh, I like this. And then people will end up being like, oh, so you meant that you didn't like this. And it's like, oh, that's not what I was saying.
Like, you didn't say that at all, but you're taking my words and twisting them, but I digress. Um, but other than that, that's all we got for this episode. We appreciate you guys. Any type of submissions, like in terms of like topics you want us to talk about, feel free to hit my DM. But other than that, y'all be easy. We out.